to call this meeting to order for Monday, June 1st, 2020. I don't believe we have any public input. There's nobody but us on here, so we'll move on to correspondence. Kathy, I don't think we have anything other than what was in the packet, correct?
Yep, that's it.
Okay, so next order of business is approval of the meeting minutes of our regular meeting of May 18th. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Okay, so Paul made the motion, Rich seconded. Any corrections, any comments?
Matt, I had two very minor corrections, if I would.
Yeah, go ahead.
Page 2, under my director's report, item number 2, the CCTV should be a TV, as in television, closed circuit television. Is that is what the contractor completed? You see that, Kath, on number 2?
Yep.
And then
Okay.
on my number 6,
Yeah,
if you would change omission errors, that should have been emissions issues.
Emissions issues.
emissions issues. Okay,
As opposed to omission errors. A little bit of a tongue twister there.
You got it.
Thank you.
all right. You know, I got to tell you, I am always so grateful that I've been fortunate that there's at least one person in every one of my meetings who actually reads the minutes that carefully. It's really a great thing. Okay, so any other changes, corrections? So okay, so we have a motion on the floor to approve as amended. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Invoices, we just have, on financials, we just have one set of invoices from our town attorney. I'll put a motion on the floor that we approve invoices, the recap dated June 1, 2020 in the amount of $2,018.25. There's a second?
I think it's May. I think they're May 1st.
Oh, well, what I'm going from is the recap sheet, the summary sheet.
Oh, I see up the top. You're
Yeah,
right.
because you're right. Your bills are from May, but the summary sheet, that's the one that identifies. So
Right.
when the minutes, people refer back to
Okay.
it. So who seconded that?
I'll second it.
Okay, Paul did. Okay, any questions? That's pretty straightforward. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, that carries. Director's report. Tom, you're up.
Okay, after the last meeting, I was asked to take a look with the highway superintendent at the asphalt patch over at the D&B Realty. The highway superintendent agreed that the patch was in good condition. And the other thing we looked at was the rear parking lot. And we saw no related pavement issues with respect to the leak that we had. So I think the highway superintendent was in agreement that the asphalt is held up.
Okay. All right.
Greenwood Avenue, our repair that we're waiting on. I did speak with the contractor today. They are expecting all the material. It's actually in Kingston, New York, where their office is. But according to the, the travel information on the shipping, but he doesn't have it yet at his yard. So he's expecting to have that this week. Probably, he said, by Thursday. That being the case, then we'll go ahead and schedule that repair for next week, probably on Monday, the 8th. So finally, that looks like that's going to get repaired.
Okay.
I have, I think, one other item, and it's really just a heads up for next week's meeting. The developer who is proposing a development up on Good Hill Road would like to come back in and just discuss his proposal with PUC. If you recall, we looked at this some time ago. It was going to require a water main extension. Our water main ends on Taylor Avenue. Forgive me, I don't recall the exact number, maybe around number 68 or number 70. So he was going to be looking to extend a water main per our new policy. And he just wanted to get back before us and discuss it.
Is this Tim Draper's property?
It is.
It's the project, yeah.
Now, has that been approved by P and Z?
I thought we approved that before, like last year sometime.
No, I thought so too.
The PUC did, but I don't think planning and zoning and wetlands have.
That's correct, Marty. I believe the public hearing is now closed with inland wetlands. I don't know that their decision has been made. And I believe that concurrently, he's made his application to P and Z. So I don't think we're looking to approve anything at this time. I think he's going to need to get his land use approvals before we can finalize.
Right.
But I think he wanted to just basically revisit the proposal to extend a water main. Since we haven't really done one of these through our new policy, I think he wanted to just basically reacquaint the project with us and start having us think a little bit about any comments we're going to have for him.
Okay, what I would like to do is, if you could pull the specs of what it was we approved before, when he came before us against that policy. Just, I mean, in case he shows up and he thinks it's something other than what we approved, or he's asking for any kind of a variation to what was approved, just so we know exactly what it was.
Okay, I can forward everyone a copy of our policy that we've
Yeah.
approved. And that's really our starting point with him and indicating that this is what you got to adhere to. There were two documents. It was the policy, and then we actually had an actual agreement that would be signed.
Yeah,
So I'll re-forward those to you. You may all have them anyway, but I'll just make it easy. I'll attach the two documents in an email.
you're giving some of us a huge benefit of the doubt that we would still have that at our fingertips. Yeah, Rich, go ahead.
Yeah, I really not 100% sure, but I don't think we approved that any extending of the water line to him. Maybe we might said water is available, but we didn't give him any. We need to research it, but I don't think we gave him any formal approval before.
I think you're probably right, Rich, and we'll go back and look at the minutes. I know he did appear before us. We did discuss the issue. I think he was more or less in agreement with what we were telling him he was going to need to do, but we made no formal approvals is my understanding at this point.
Yeah, I
Right.
think that's correct. I remember the conversation was that his proposal to P and Z was that the water main be extended through several yards through an easement, through several properties, through an easement, through an existing easement, I think.
No, he's going to actually extend it right across existing town roads.
Oh, okay.
He'll extend it down Taylor Avenue, and then he'll extend it further up Good Hill to his property, and then he'll run his service into his building.
Okay.
Let me ask Marty a question. Are we obligated to do that?
Yeah, I think if he fits within the policy and we have the water available, yeah. I'd rather put it through the roads than have him try to cut across some properties with an easement. But that would,
If he's with so many feet of the water main, he has to connect to the water main too.
well, this may be a good jumping off point that if PUC does approve anything, that you make a point of telling planning and zoning that they need to put in their record that if any of the units are sold individually, he's got to put the individual lines in.
There was, the last P and Z meeting on this issue was quite contested by local residents.
Yeah, well, he's got a couple, that's because it's affordable housing. He's got a couple of them that he's doing that he's having problems with. And what he did, he's got one on Shelley Road, and that one is that he heard what Wetlands said. I think he might have appealed that, both of them too. And then what he does is he goes back and he has his engineer make the changes per what inland wetlands has said, and then he goes back with the application. So he's got a lawsuit pending at the same time that he's trying to comply with what they want them to what they want him to do.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he ever got to the point of of P and Z, a decision there, I think.
Oh, no, I don't think so. He
Right.
never got past inland wetlands.
Right, that's exactly, and he had to go
Right.
back to inland wetlands.
Yeah.
And
Well,
usually they don't, P and Z won't make a decision until there's a final decision from inland wetlands first.
Okay.
Okay, well, so let's pull out the materials. If we need to review it with Marty and, you know, have some recommendations ready for the PUC at the next meeting, we'll do that.
Okay.
And certainly, I think him coming back with this proposal, this would be a preliminary, and I believe, you know, certainly we can have him back again before us if and when he gets his land use approvals.
Okay,
All right.
So he won't necessarily be one and done at this point with us.
okay. All right, sounds good.
Okay.
Tom, yeah, there was another issue too that we spoke about at the last meeting was on Wooster Street about the size of the outgoing sewage into a container for, I don't know, we were talking 1,000 gallons or 2,000 gallons, and I believe you were going to go there and take a look or talk to the owner.
That's correct. Yes, we spoke with the engineer, and he did give us some information, and Kelly shared that with me. Kelly, you can jump in if I miss anything here. We requested he bump the size of his tank up to a 2,000 gallon tank. He's agreed to that. He's proposing a duplex pump system on rails so that you can easily remove the pump as needed. The system will have visual and audible alarms. And the discharge from the pump unit will be to a manhole at the property line, where then it would go into our sewer system via gravity.
So there's no need for a generator then? for
I'm sorry?
pumping?
I don't think he was proposing a generator. At this point, I'm not aware that he is, but he did agree.
No, if I may, when we spoke about it yesterday, we would basically give him the option, or when we spoke at the last meeting, an option to a generator versus a bigger tank, and
Yeah.
he had no problem with the 2,000 gallon tank.
All right. You know, given this issue, I'm just throwing this out to the commission. Do you think we should have something in our rules and regulations for this in terms of the number of units versus holding tanks? What type of size we should have?
A lot of it depends on how many units there are. You know, it's a variable, Paul.
I think it's going to mostly be dependent on the average daily flow.
Exactly.
And then you'll pick out a multiplier, whether you're comfortable with a 1.5 times the average day, maybe a 2.0. I think that's mostly how that would be governed, I think.
Well, how many units does he have in Worcester?
I think it's 8, Tom.
I think it's 8 units. I think it's 6 one-bedroom, and I believe it's 2 two-bedroom.
What does that come out to gallonage a day?
I think that's going to be 10 bedrooms, so per hour standards. I think, I'm trying to think if we're 80 gallons a day when they're attached or 100 gallons a day.
I think it's 100 if it's an apartment.
100 a day?
Yeah.
So you're looking at 1,000 gallons. So he's given us a multiplier of twice. It will have an audible alarm. It will have a visual alarm. Obviously, it's going to be into the residents' best interest to not utilize the water till it gets fixed.
Well, can I ask another question, just briefly? Right now, it doesn't require a pump up to our system?
No, it does. That's why he's putting it in, yes.
Yeah, so if it goes more than 2 days, you got a problem.
All right.
Exactly.
Generally,
Isn't
yeah.
that what happened at Plum Trees? Before your time, Tom. Kelly?
Say it again about plum trees. I'm sorry, Marty.
Didn't that happen at Plum Trees about 4 years ago, 5 years ago?
Yes.
They had a pump up system. They didn't have a generator. It kept backing up. The electricity kept going out and there were all kinds of problems. We went through a lot of nonsense with this stuff.
Yeah, that, you know what that one was? That was tied, that was pumped directly into our pit. That was what the issue was. But when you say Plum Trees, that was many units. That was, Plum Trees 2 did put in a generator because it affected so many homes. That was like the whole top half that they had to pump out back to gravity.
Didn't they
Then they
have a
had-
problem with a bad backflow valve too, or no backflow?
Yeah, there was a bunch of things wrong. I remember it was a mess. There were a lot
You're
of.
looking
Yeah,
at
it actually was,
It doesn't
it was
surprise
dumping
me
into the last unit.
since I worked on the project over there when I was a kid. Don't you think maybe what we ought to do is in the future come up with some kind of reg so nobody has to guess?
Right.
So many units and there has to be a pump up system that over so many units, you got to either expand the tank and figure out what it'd be, or in the alternative, come up with a generator. I don't think they should be given the choice. I think that's the PUC's decision,
Right.
not the builder's decision. You know, and I don't know about this one. I'm not saying that now. I'm just saying that in the future we should, so they can pick up a book and they can read and they could say, okay, we got 12 units. I got to have a pump up system. According to this, I can't have an oversized tank. I got to have a generator. Or I can have an oversized tank. I don't need a generator. That way there's no guessing.
No, I
Yeah,
agree.
we can look into that, Marty. We could research that a bit and come back with something.
I think that would standardize everything for us,
Right.
and that's what I'd like to see.
Okay. All right. What else you got,
Why
Tom?
don't we put that on the docket and for, not necessarily the next meeting, but perhaps in the next 2 or 3 meetings coming through our engineering, okay?
All right.
If I could suggest, I have our budget that I'm going to be kind of working on here for the next meeting or two.
Yeah.
If I could revisit this, say at a subsequent meeting, say that second meeting in July.
Sure, that's fine. This is not exactly super urgent, but I think
Okay.
in the future.
I mean, I'm thinking as a
Kathy, just put it on the docket there someplace, okay?
Yes.
Marty, I'm thinking of a note on drawings that would indicate that in the event of a failure, say on one of these smaller type units, if there's a failure and an alarm's going off, I think the backup is always going to be you're going to have a pump out unit come and haul it away. So, I mean, if we had language in a note indicating that in the event of a failure, the owner will be required to basically hire a pump out unit, a pump out contractor. And basically we would make sure it gets done, or we would do it and bill them if needed be. But I don't know if you want to get into any of that.
No, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. Well, what's going to happen is where are they going to call first? You.
Which is fine. And we could remind them, you've got to get someone like a Pembroke or others that have to show up and pump it out. They could get that unit pumped out in a matter of a couple hours.
You're going to get a call from the person who's living there, not necessarily the builder.
No,
I mean,
not the builder.
yeah.
The landlord's going to be responsible.
Right.
All right, we'll talk
Okay.
more about it.
Yeah. Okay.
That's all I had from my director's report.
Okay, great. And yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead, Rich.
I got a question. Tom,
Yeah,
what about the buildings on Chestnut? Those rear houses, do they have sewer injectors in those houses? That DeMarco's building down in back?
No, they're all gravity, Rich.
Gravity out to Chestnut or
Yes.
gravity across the brook to the sewer
No,
line
no,
and out
Chestnut.
back?
No, definitely Chestnut. They're taking
They
advantage of the
transfer
green laterals.
Brook?
No, they're going to Chestnut, Rich. They're going out through the 3 existing laterals.
So those houses back are low enough to pick it
I didn't get you on
So
that, Rich.
what you're saying is those houses in the back are high enough to go into the gravity system, and the house
Correct.
in the
Yeah.
back, the
They're
Yes.
tying
houses
into
in
the
the
gravity
back,
sewer
are
on
they
Chestnut.
high enough to go into the gravity system? Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Okay. Anything else for Tom? All right, we'll move on. Actually, no new business. So Tom, you're up again. PUC capital projects.
Okay, I'll give you an update here. The Chestnut tank, DN Tanks is mobilized. They're now on site. We got our sign off from the geotechnical engineer that the subgrade preparation under the tank basin footings is approved. So they're doing their construction and their prep work to get ready to start pouring concrete. On the Bergstrom well, the well pump, generator, and the pilot plant were all delivered last week. We've been flowing water since last Thursday night. And the pilot company is prepping the pilot plant now, and they're gonna start doing their trials starting tomorrow. So we'll start getting some data now on our new Bergstrom well and how treatable is that water and to what extent. Our 2019 water main project, the water mains are installed on Grassy Plain Terrace, and they're continuing with installations on Highview Terrace. And their schedule has the overall project being completed sometime in October. And lastly, I submitted the applications to DPH, the authorizations to commence work for the Briarcliff and the Eureka generators.
Okay. By the way, I don't know where that came from, but I guess that was our public input, right? Okay, so any questions on capital for Tom? Nope. All right, Kelly, you're up. Supervisors.
Okay, I see Richie raising his hand. Did he have something before I get started?
Yeah, the dog was barking, so I put it on mute.
Oh,
Can you verify, I was up watching, working on the water main in Grassy Plain, not Grassy Plain, Highview Terrace.
Yep.
And can you just verify the depth of the pipe, the cover on the pipe? Is that 5 feet or is it supposed to be more cover? Does someone go up there occasionally? Does Kelly go up there and inspect?
Yes, I've been up there. Go ahead, Tom.
No, I was just gonna say, I go up occasionally, a couple times a week at least,
I'm
and Kelly's up there
asking
daily.
about the cover on the pipe.
Kel, he had a question about the cover over the
Yeah.
pipe.
All right.
Yeah,
my
I mean,
question
we're-
was, do you know what the cover is supposed to be on the pipe?
Yeah, it's about 4.5 feet. They've had two places where they had to go over the old 4-inch main, just to get through a couple spots, but they've also put a little bit of insulation in there. But once this becomes an 8-inch main flowing through, I have no issues with that. But there's only about 2 or 3 spots, actually 2 spots, where they were above 4 feet, but they're dropping right down as soon as they can down to 4.5.
My question, Kelly, is when they tap the main, that they don't put a gooseneck on the top of they put a 90 so they don't rise up too much on it. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it could freeze.
Yeah, you know what? Where there's taps, they always go between 2 and 3 o'clock. So you're laying down on the side. With these new taps, they're direct tap, and there's no fittings on top of the main. They're all down on the side.
Okay.
And
I'll talk
that's how we require them.
Okay.
okay, is that,
I think.
is
Yeah,
that
I think.
was that your question, Rich? You got that answered?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
Yes, I did.
okay, go ahead, Kelly.
Okay, so the utility department came back in full force this morning at 7 o'clock with full hours, the full 40-hour weeks, and we're back to a full staff. We met with them for about, or I met with them for about 10, 15 minutes. We set forth guidelines, which I sent to you this morning, Matt, just so you're aware where we stand going into homes and as much social distancing as we can. Now that I'm back in full force, I've got the guys, they're catching up on the mowing. They've done the right-of-way out behind the train station. Today they did the wells and trimmed the wells. One of the other guys went up to Hoyt's Hill, trimmed around there, and he's planning on getting there tomorrow as soon as the ground is, dry. The dew is gone because it's a little steep on getting up the bank. We've had a few leaks over the past couple weeks. They've been service leaks, which have been taken care of promptly. Highview, we had a couple mishaps with the 4-inch main being transite, and it's kind of hard to locate, but we've gotten through those with no issues whatsoever. The hydrant, I have a hydrant scheduled. Actually, the call before you dig was good for today. I had parts delivered for Taylor Avenue. I want to get that one reconnected to the main across from Vanderbilt. And also, we've had leak survey done. Actually, of the amount of main that we have in the ground, we've done about 34 miles of leak survey the past couple weeks. A couple little leaks here and there that we're trying to get caught up on. It was done free as charge, just as long as the guy who came in and did the survey, he got the work to repair it. So it's basically a win-win situation for us. We did have an issue about a week ago with the plates by the railroad station there, the railroad tracks. They started to give way, so we had to have that filled in. We went way longer than we thought we were going to have those plates in place, and for safety reasons, one of them is good. One trench is good. The other trench got a little bit iffy, so for safety reasons, we filled it in. But other than that, we're like I said, we're back to full schedule. We're hoping to once we get this main across the tracks taken care of, to get into some flushing before it gets too hot. Again, trying to practice the social distancing and everything that's needed to be done. But basically, that's it.
Okay, great. Any questions for Kelly? And hearing none. I saw Pete's name pop up, but then he disappeared, so I presume he was having trouble dialing in. Well, we'll catch him next time. All right, that concludes our agenda. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved by Paul, seconded by Rich. Those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Carries.
Thanks, everyone.
Very much, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Later.
Hi.